And welcome to It's Your Life Own It Motivational Moments with Marissa and the Own It family. I am here. My name is Marissa. I'm the editor in chief of Own It Magazine and Publishing and the CEO of TCS Consulting. And today we're going to be talking to you in regards to mental health awareness and sharing with you some of our insight, experience, and perspective on how to manage and deal with stress and how to alleviate it in our own specialization. So taking center stage and owning it with me today is Nathaniel, Dr. Stephanie Reed, Sabine, come on in, Sabine, Jeffrey Berger, and Teresa Palmer. Welcome to another morning of motivational moments. We are here to inspire our audience and hopefully give them some tips and some insights on how to manage some level of mental health, really with stress management. And I know that I'm going to charge over to my team and say to them, share some insight. Coming out of COVID, we've had a surge in understanding that the real impact and the truth of how much people have not been aware of their own mental health, and the importance of making sure that we do that self care that helps us to kind of in some way alleviate or relieve us of that stress. And we're going to talk to some basic areas and dive in. And so I know for me, managing my own, I've been anything at all. But I know that we all deal. We could either have a diagnosis of a disorder or a challenge, um, but we all deal with stress. We're all dealing with some level of stress, and with some basic tips and some insight, we can kind of manage some of that, some of those stress levels. And one of those areas for me is getting to work out, getting to the gym, and making sure that I eat healthy and I'm wise in my decision how I eat, setting healthy boundaries, charging myself to do some of the difficult things where, protecting my environment in regards to internal and external influences. That has been one of the major things of just helping me with just basic, management of stress. I want to go and lean over towards Teresa and ask her in regards to your experience, your expertise. What are some of the insights that you give to managing their stress levels?
Marissa, did you call on me? Or
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. I didn't hear everything that you had said. What can we do to manage stress and self
Yeah,
care?
so focusing on
Okay. Uh, what I believe is necessary now is taking our health to the next level. And by that, I mean joining mind, body, and spirit together because you have to have all three. The body is what houses the mind and what houses the spirit. So it's always mind and body and spirit. We do things already. A lot of people believe that's enough for their health. They may uh, diet, exercise, sleep. Those are all important things. They may be taking medications. They may have had procedures. There's different things that they're doing. But when it comes down to it, it really all begins with you. And what I like to do is take people to the next level of their health. And now, what can you do for your mind? For your mind, it's about emotions, perception, and thoughts. How you think is who you become. So if you think of yourself as being able to do things, then you are able to do things. Your perception of whether it be who you are, your health. A lot of times, what I've seen in the medical profession is once people hear the word disease, as in heart disease, any type of disease, it makes them feel hopeless and helpless. And that's not the case. So really, disease is really just dis-ease within the body, but we don't really understand that. We've never been given that understanding. So I like to refer to things as a condition. So you have a condition, but that doesn't mean that you can't do things to help yourself. And the last thing with the mind is your emotions. We have to feel things. And a lot of times we don't like it. We like to mask our emotions, to take them away by taking drugs, prescription, non prescription, alcohol sometimes. And that doesn't work. In order to get to the other side, you have to experience the feeling. And sometimes you need help with it because if the feelings get blocked in the heart, you can't process it. And the heart actually has its own brain. There's three brains in the body. There's the heart, the brain, and the brain. So you actually have three brains in the body that you utilize, and we really only know about the brain. But the heart does have a brain. You can process emotions through the brain. So that's what you do for yourself mentally, taking yourself to the next level of health. Then there's what can you do? And the big thing is to manage stress. That's a huge thing. To identify and manage stress. What is stressing you and what can you do about it? I hear people tell me all the time there's nothing I can do about stress. It's just the way I am. Well, that's not really true. You choose not to manage stress. We all do that at one time or another, but you can manage stress. And how do you do that? The first thing is any type of, so whether you do exercise, running, walking in nature, anything like that helps you to manage stress. The second thing would be a yoga practice, because yoga not only works every muscle in your body physically and every fiber and helps with the secretion and the regulation of hormones throughout the body, but it's also a movement meditation. And then there is the quiet time, which also goes along with spirituality. But you have to get to know yourself and you have to reintroduce yourself to yourself because we're told we need to be busy. We're told if we're not doing something, if we're not multitasking, that we're being lazy. And that's not the case. We all need quiet time. And the easiest way to get that quiet time is some form of meditation, which really just means sitting quietly with yourself, not dwelling on your thoughts. You could do that formally by sitting or lying down and closing your eyes. You could do it through a yoga practice, a daily practice of yoga, because the asanas or the postures are a moving meditation. Or you could walk in nature, you could do some sort of dance. All those things physically help with stress. They help relieve and resolve stress. And when you manage stress, your body goes back into balance. And then it's at its optimum, so that whether you take medications, whether you take supplements, whether you're having a procedure, anything like that, your body now physically is optimized so that anything else that you do outside of yourself or outside of your body can be more effective. And then we have the spiritual end, which the heart is referred to as the seat of the soul. And it is your connection to a power higher than you. So in your heart, you have that power to connect to a source, a higher source than yourself. And it doesn't matter what you believe that source is. All that matters is that you do make that connection. And it's also where you develop your intuition. And intuition is also very important because that's our GPS system. That's what really guides us. We hear people say sometimes that something just doesn't feel right. And if something doesn't feel right, doesn't seem right to you, you need to honor that because it's not right. And too often in medicine, what I've seen is people know that there's something wrong with them, but they don't know what it is and they don't want to express that because they feel like they don't have the right or the knowledge to make a decision. And you really do. Everything you have is inside of you. It just has to be cultivated. So if you ever feel that there's something wrong or something's being missed, something's not being attended to, that's when you need to speak up, because the body always knows, the mind knows, and the spirit knows. And too often I've seen, perhaps a year has gone by, maybe a few years, where something has developed because a person did not really feel that they had the right to speak up about it. And then their fears and their concerns get confirmed. So don't wait for that. If something's
Yeah,
not right,
and you are so correct with the importance of trusting your instincts and being
right,
present with your body, being really, really
right,
connected with your body, and that's what a lot of people want to avoid. So when you talk about emotions, you mentioned emotions, they don't want to feel because they don't want to face it. And the biggest thing that you can do for yourself, and the reason why I'm speaking to mental health in a particular way is because there's some basic things that we are not doing that we can do that can help reduce some of the stress that you're going through in order for you to calm down. Let's just use an example of, a lifesaver coming out to save someone who's drowning. If they could just calm down, and they'll tell you, calm down enough so that I can save you and bring you in. And that's why it's so important for us to have that alone time and to make sure that we're taking that alone time. That's critically important for us to get to know ourselves, to get in tune with ourselves, and to be able to trust, to be able to, one, hear our instincts, hear what our body is telling us, hear what our mind is telling us, hear what our spirit is telling us, so that we can calm down enough to help someone else, help a professional, help our friends, our families, and our loved ones really help us. And I want to come back to that emotional thing because when we talked last week, we talked about, Jeffrey is the one that was the reminder saying, hey, this is mental health and wellness, right? So we have the awareness month. And so we have to talk about mental health. But mental health awareness should not be designated to just one month. It's constant, it's throughout the year. And that's always how my heart is about everything. And don't make it a day. This has to be a mindset. This has to be a mental and conscious approach to being strategic and intentional about how we're showing up in our lives. So last week, because I want to go back to that. And thank you for the reminder about trusting your instincts. Thank you for the reminder of how important it is for us to be aware of mental health and wellness. One of the major things we talked about last week, um, and Dr. Reed had shared an experience she had with a professor, uh, and Nathaniel chimed in and he gave a response. Well, the reason why you have HR departments, the reason why we have a 360-degree feedback, the reason why is for adverse behavior that the professor showed. So when we talk about mental health and wellness, this is one of the basic things that people are in identity crisis. They feel their worth is low. Is because we had did a workaround. We work around problematic people. We work around narcissistic, as everyone's claiming that everybody's turned into be. We work around these poor behaviors and these demeaning behaviors. We learn to work around them and say, oh, my professor made me great, and my no, they're running around and they're destroying people with their responses the way they are, especially when they're in a position. Teachers should not belittle their students because guess what they did? They just closed that student's mind from being open to learning and development, learning and growing. So I counter back to say, you know, I'm always going to wear my heart on my sleeve and care about people because we have too many people out there with nasty mouths, sarcasm. They're hiding their bitterness and their life's disappointment behind being sarcastic and smart. Now, I don't know, Dr. Reed, how you ask your professor the question. It does not matter. He's in an authoritarian position. And when he responded to you, it shouldn't have been. Now he reduced himself to your level as a student by being smart. And then you had to recover from that. You had to figure out, okay, now I'm going to do it in spite of, not because he offered you a different perspective or a different way of thinking. opportunity. Now I'm doing this in spite of. We shouldn't do things in spite of. We should, and that's where our problem is with just the basics on mental health and awareness, just the basics on self love and self care, because that's abuse. That's abuse of authority. And that's exactly where HR departments had to come in. That's where laws had to be put in place. And that's why we have so many people who are traumatized that need to be healed because of people basically abusing and walking around here and being unchecked for their behavior. Now we have a higher level of just classifying individuals or being narcissistic when they're not necessarily narcissistic. They just are mean people. So we've gone from one extreme to another extreme, and we just have to bring it back to a place of balance. And that means know thyself. Know thyself. Sit alone, quiet enough to face your fears. If you take time by yourself to sit and process and do the introspective work about how I feel, how did I real, you can talk to yourself. Talk to yourself. There's nothing wrong with having a dialogue with yourself, because that's how you do self-reflection. That's how you do self-evaluation. How you self-assess. And that's how you self-address. So you can address what you know is not right with yourself privately without anybody's interference, without anybody's influence or input. You can have that time to get to know yourself, because we all know the things that we're doing that cross boundaries. We all know it. We know it. We can run from it. But that's what own it is all about. Own all of that. And so I say this is that it's so important for us to trust our instincts. There's something that's innate within us. We are designed to know ourselves when we take the time to get to know ourselves. It is in the response to a professor like that, or someone who belittles you, that we now put on the mask, that we now put up a facade. We got to be something that we're not, so that no one ever gets to know who we really are. And that's where all of this dis-ease comes from. Not taking the time to love on ourselves and care for ourselves. Um, Allowing individuals who are in authoritative positions to belittle and mistreat their subordinates or their followers or anyone that's underneath them. You can teach people through love. You can teach people through affection and admiration. You can teach them. We can learn and we can be high achievers through love. That's what a high performance team does. A high performance team cares about the common goal. They care about the end results, and they nurture and they build and they become the strength where there's a weak area. They become the opportunity rather than the threat. They dissolve the threat by making it an opportunity. They come together cohesively and in a harmonically for the greater good and the greater cause, and they do that in love. High performance teams are group think. They understand and they buy in to the common goal. And we can do that from a place of love. And so I just wanted to circle back to that, because that was on my heart at the end of the show. The last time we were together, and it was on my heart this morning, and I really just wanted to share that I don't like sarcasm, because to me there's no good fruit out of that. There's no fruit that comes that is good. There's hidden agenda behind sarcasm. And so I want to digress over to Nathaniel, who is high on accountability of self, how you're managing your life, how you're showing up in your finances, and how you're holding yourself accountable. So I'll digress over to Nathaniel and let him share his heart. And then we'll go to Jeffrey, Sabine, and then Dr. Reed.
Well, as people can see, this is a topic that's near and dear to the panel's heart, and we could talk for hours about this. So I'm going to try to summarize the points that I want to make here by first saying that we need to take a look at the spirit, the mind, and the body, which most people are familiar with. They just have it in the wrong order. They go mind, body, and spirit. It's spirit first, mind, and then body. And then the other 2 points that are always left off is environment and environmental influencers. You have to be balanced in all 5 areas, and you have to be healthy in all 5 areas in order to elevate your life. Um, the other point that I would like to make is I always talk about the least common denominators, the values, spirituality, health, family, finances, career, community involvement, and education. All of those areas are equally important. And from a health standpoint, a lot of us are unbalanced, and we're not healthy because we focus in on 1 or 2 areas and don't seek balance across the board. And since our emphasis is on health, we, each one of those things are independent of each other, but they're also interconnected to each other. So we're focusing on health this morning. So you got to look at and make sure you spiritually are healthy. You have to make sure that your relationships are healthy. You got to make sure your career is healthy. And you go through are you community, your involvement in the community, is it healthy? Is your learning educational, both formal and informal? Are you doing it from a healthy perspective? So it, like I say, it's interdependent, independent, but yet interdependent. So, people, let's look at the whole picture holistically and see, can't we get our lives balanced? And one of the things that we're going to do to contribute to that is we're going to be starting in July, first Thursday in July. We're going to start a financial boot camp that's going to run 3 months on Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. A video conference. Contact us. You can reach me at abundancelegacy.org. Send me a quick email saying why you want to be a part of the boot camp. The boot camp is free, and we will get you registered to participate in that and see if we can help you get your finances in order. Because getting your finances in order is going to make you healthier. It's going to take a lot of that stress off of you, and it's going to help you to balance out in some of those other areas as well.
Yeah, and handling your finances alleviates some stress. When your bank is right and tight, you can then focus on some other areas in your life that are not in balance. One, you can pay to go to the gym, right? Then you can afford to pay for real medical support. Money they're all interconnected and they all influence the aspects of your life. They are, and money is a major, major, major part of dis-ease. It robs you of your peace of mind, especially if you are a parent or you have anybody that you're responsible for because you're concerned about their well-being and taking care of them. And this is the conversations, like I always say, are the tough conversations. These are the conversations that people are hiding behind. As a business owner, when you're dealing with other clientele, you're dealing with their finances. You're dealing with, when you're coaching and developing, you have to deal with all of those areas when you're dealing with a client. So we get to see it firsthand. Sabine, you're shaking your head. Yeah, in real estate, we get to see how the bank is showing up for people that we're working with. And these are the conversations that it's taboo to have because everybody's worried about what they look like. And the beginning that you stop worrying about what you look like and start getting it right is the very minute that you can walk in ease and flow, like Lulu says. And so one of the major things is the boot camp, getting your finances right, understanding how financial systems work to a degree that you are able to be educated. You're not making uneducated decisions. You're making strategic and intentional decisions to get in alignment. And so Jeffrey, share, and also the boot camp is inside the Own It magazine. There will be a live link for you to register so that you can go in and register. So you will have access to that information inside the Own It magazine. Jeffrey, you're up.
Awesome. Thank you. And for those that are new or even have been with Own It for a while, definitely look into the boot camp with Nathaniel. It's an incredible opportunity. So firsthand experience. I participated in 2023. So definitely take a look at it. So, As the CEO and founder of Abundance and Optimum Wellness, I always have had the belief of we should be living a life of abundance and optimum wellness physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And so far with Teresa and with Nathaniel, they've provided great nuggets today, and Sabine and Dr. Reed will as well, along with Marissa. But my journey actually started in 2015. I left corporate America from total burnout, total stress. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But through that journey, I've gone on a roller coaster. And today, I'm a certified holistic wellness coach. But I'm taking a finance first approach because it really was the last part of the formula. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial was the last part of the completing the formula of my journey, and which really is achieving all-encompassing wellness to achieve true wealth, because many are aware that finances are the number one stressor today globally, and it is really it's a pandemic. I'm talking more about decentralization, which is the distribution of power and control, which is coming away from central authority, providing more transparency, enhanced security, and better efficiency. And when I was in the DR, I, was really, and when I got home, I was really thinking about that week down there. And holistic wellness is a decentralized. It's part of that decentralized. It's away from that controlled medical world, which has its benefits and it has its non-benefits. All right. But it's giving people more control away from the business of managing illness. And people want to get well. So we're in a new world where people, really have the option to explore, different opportunities. There's more of us that are getting out there and sharing value, sharing wisdom, providing information for people to say, wait a minute, oh, that makes sense. Maybe I should look into this, and then get both sides and then evaluate. So then you, as a CEO of your own life, can take control, as well as make an educated decision for yourself. I came off of 5 meds because my doctor wanted to put me on a 6th. That's when I took control of my life, saying, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. So, and during that was the start of really understanding that most disease starts in the gut, and we have one body temple, and it's our responsibility, not theirs, to, to take total control of our health and really understand what our bodies need, want, and desire. And that's when I started to learn about the microbiome, which is it's a centralized system that is the gut, brain, heart axis health. And it is really communicated through the vagus nerve, the largest nerve in the body. And all of these components talk to each other throughout the entire body. And this is something that I believe that people should really start looking into, because food is medicine. What are we putting into our mouths? And I had done research on most of the, well, first of all, there's over 10,000 man-made chemical food man-made chemical preservatives. I did research on 25 of them. Every single one, side effects are increased stress, anxiety, depression. And we wonder why we have this epidemic of mental health, because the foods that we're eating are a contributor on top of everything else. Working paycheck to paycheck, having family crisis, so forth and so on. So we need to be more aware of our own bodies and what we're consuming, because that plays an intricate role with regards to our overall encompassing well-being. And I am of the belief holistic mental and financial fitness, which is encompassing a plethora of different areas, is a new path to true wealth. And wealth is not money. Wealth is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial. Thank you.
Wow, that is so good. And like I said, so on point with, you just got to take the time to educate yourself personally, because we depend on doctors and professionals, but they're only as good as how well they're staying educated and staying current in their specializations.
Right.
It's just that simple. And me, working on my doctorate's degree and studying and all that stuff was a reality check that, honey, they are
Hmm.
only as good as the knowledge that they have and the current knowledge that they possess. And so,
Right.
yeah, it's very, very critically important for us to know what's going on with us. Like I said, I didn't want hot flashes and stuff like that. I started taking Lividin, and I started even taking some of the products that you had, Jeffrey. And I don't have hot flashes anymore. I don't have that. I remember, my body feeling like I had arthritis through the whole body, and I'm such a young person, young spirited person. And I'm saying, what the heck? Well, I didn't accept that. When you don't accept these things and you say, I got to figure this thing out. Well, I figured it out. I was missing some kind of supplement or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I am going to find out what it is and take the time to read up on what's in this Lividin. Helped me, but I am telling you, when you do not accept what you've been told, when you do not accept these labels and the diagnosis, that you do the work to find out how do I alleviate this? How do I get to the core? How do I get to the root of it? So that I don't have to bear this, that I don't have to live in this. You can make change. Like I said, also too, I'm getting ready to dive into. They tell us we can't lose weight. 55 after 35, you're told you can't get off this whole different for you to lose weight. Well, I'm going to tell you, I can drop pounds. I have to slow down the way that I lose weight, so I lose weight the way I want to lose weight. But there's a lie from the pit of hell that we as women cannot lose weight. You can lose the weight if you want to do it. And you can do a lot of things if you really want to do it. You just have to be willing to sacrifice, come up out of what you've been doing, change your habitual behavior, and get in, create new habits that get you the results that you want. Severe talk about how living in the tropics can address your mental health.
I can speak out of my own experience because I left Germany in 2019, again, came over here, and I was totally burnt out. I had toxic bosses. I had all of this that was said before, and I was not good physically and mentally, and came here actually to heal. And it was not easy. I had to get my mind and body and soul and everything together and straighten things out. And I can only say that it's here. It's super easy because first of all, it's a manana mentality. It is more relaxed. People just slow down. There's no rush. And apart from that, we have all these beautiful fruit that grow here in the country, and you can pick it ripe from the tree, and it's not you're not buying it green. So you get all these fresh vitamins and good vegetables, and just slow down, eat healthy. And also what I think is very important, when you and I mean I have a full agenda, and I'm working very hard as a real estate owner and construction business owner. So but I take the weekends, for example, the Sundays are my days where I just go to the beach and I just watch the sea, I just enjoy the sun, and I can just reload my batteries. And some people need to calm down and just meditate and think, and some people need action. So if you need action, you just go, and like I did the other weekend, I went for a horseback ride on the beach, and it was so much fun. And this is where you can shut up your mind and just feel and listen into yourself and what's going on. So it's not always easy, but you have to discipline yourself also to really take that break. And then on Mondays you are fresh, and you have the energy again to keep going. And of course, the environment, the sun, the palm trees, the blue skies, that also helps so much. I mean, it's very hard to be depressive here on this island.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that you can live this. Like you can are still in the process of working. If you work for yourself and you can do your work remotely, you can live this life every day. And
Right.
there's something about being here that just totally. And we're talking about the Dominican Republic. what you just relax here. Even on
Mhm.
a stressful day, it's not U.S. stress. It is definitely not U.S. stress. And so Sabine didn't share it, but if you're interested in any kind of real estate, or you're interested in the opportunity to live in paradise here in the Dominican Republic, talk to her. As we were saying backstage, talk to her now, because the pricings are and everything else is shifting and changing. We are coming fully out of the pandemic, and things are normalizing. With normalization means that things begin to increase, right?
Absolutely, it's a hot market, and it's time to get the foot in. So that's why I'm saying there. Even here, it's stressful, but you have the balance. So if you would like to live this sensation also, and this feeling, and if you can do that, then you should.
You should. And so now we're going to shift gears, and we're gonna wrap things up because we're going to Dr. Reed, and Dr. Reed does not leave a stone unturned. She is going to share with us her insight and perspective and tips for managing your mental health. And we say it from a perspective of just simple, or if you have challenges or diagnosis, these are just some of the simple things that you could do to kind of alleviate, to give yourself some breathing room to be able to move forward. So, Dr. Reed.
Well, I like to always just kind of listen and get educated from everybody else's perspective, and then put a nice, neat bow on it for the audience to understand it in sound bites that they could take away and go, okay, now I remember all those things. And so, Sabine, it's interesting that you and I have kind of like a reverse history. When that professor told me that I should just try that natural medicine, and I said, oh, I think I will, is because I lived in Bamberg, Germany, and I had a son in the Bamberg Clinicum, and the experience was amazing. And so I was given the courage to take a segue into naturopathy and homeopathy because I've experienced it in that experience. So thank you for bringing that up, because it just reminded me, oh yeah, I lived in Germany. So I lived in Germany, and I came home when the Berlin Wall came down. So that tells you how young I am. Right. So
Mhm.
this was 35 years ago that I experienced homeopathy, where United States are just trying to figure out, right. So that's my experience. And of course, as a doctor of naturopathy and a PhD, I have to bring up the aspects of how people understand, where do we get this mental health thing from? It's from a book called the DSM-5, and the DSM-5 is just a conglomerate of diagnosis, about 70 and counting, where professionals, psychology professionals, get together and they say, I've experienced this, I've experienced that, I've experienced this. Let's call it this. Just because they called it something doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate. The truth is, we are a spirit, mind, and body in that order. And traditional Chinese medicine says the energy that surrounds us, we're talking about environment, the energy that surrounds us has an impact on us. And we know this for sure. So let's take something simple. You've heard somebody say, and they spoof it in movies, when somebody is so scared they see this the wet spot in front of their pants, because we know if we are scared we're going to pee on ourselves. That's because the energy of fear goes to the bladder. If you understand the spiritual and emotional aspect of fear and how that energy impacts an organ, you can understand how it impacts all organs. So the emotion of grief will impact your lungs. The emotion of sadness or a rage or anger will affect your heart. The emotion of not feeling like you're good about giving and receiving will affect your hands. The emotions of not of feeling fear of moving forward is going to affect your gait, your walking. So when you say check yourself out, you'll get to know yourself. First, you have to understand how the body operates within the energetic field, so you can be able to figure out, oh, I must be afraid of something because my urine is off, or there's something in my psyche that I don't want to mentally digest because I keep having all these migraines, or my eyes are starting to get blurry. What is it that I can't see? If we can be practical from that perspective, then people can start to assess their own mental health. When we just say be aware of yourself, we have to give them something to be aware of. So I just gave you something: your hands, your heart, your lungs, your bladder. These are all symptoms of something that you have to address. Now here's the other thing about having to address them. This is going to get deep. Hold on to your pearls. When when you especially women, there are times in our lives when we are triggered from our past. And these are traumas that perpetually roll up in our psyche. And as a result of them not being healed, we remain that wounded child at 55. We remain that wounded child at 67. If those wounds are not addressed, then we carry them with us. So when you say, sit with yourself, and you don't know that your thinking and your spirit is based on the wounded 6-year-old. When you sit with yourself, you're sitting with the wounded you. You need somebody to help you see that blind spot. You just can't find it yourself. Because if you could have found it yourself, a lot of people who started the journey would not still be mentally unwell for various forms. And so what I do is I say, okay, let's do something that's going to integrate you consistently. So I take some hair, I send it to the lab. Not only does the lab tell me whether you're getting your nutritional elements, it also tells me if you were exposed to something that's not going to be good for you. It also gives me the proper diet for you, and it gives me the proper minerals to rebalance you so your body can be back to homeostasis. When you are well from that perspective, you can handle anything that life throws at you because life doesn't stop. But if you're healthy and you're energetically and you're understanding these things, then when something comes your way, you become more proactive. When you're unwell, you're more reactive. So that's the way you can tell whether you're mentally healthy. Am I handling things as they show up? Am I freaking out? Up, I'm triggered by past traumas. I need some help. But if things show up and you can handle them with ease and you still kind of have your own ways of dealing with it, then you know you're generally mentally healthy. But guess what else the hair tissue analysis does? It tells me the mineral imbalances that are actually perpetuating those emotional states. So for instance, if you have a magnesium deficiency, you're going to be hyper, very, very hyper. The sound of anything loud or loud noise or loud voices is going to make you irritable. That irritability becomes from your mineral, the magnesium is responsible for muscles and nerve excitation. So if your mineral imbalance is off, then your nervous system is going to be off. And your nervous system might be off because of something that you're eating that has pesticides in it or something that you're eating that's unhealthy. You won't know any of this for sure unless you get tested. So do not guess what mineral you need to take because you will knock a compliment off. I'll give you a good example. If you take vitamin C because you think it's cold out here, it's cold. And by the way, audience, I live in Hawaii, so I live in a warm place and I love the tropics and just everything Sabine said works. But what if you can't do that and you can't go to the tropics? You can at least make sure that you know for sure that your health is on track by a hair tissue analysis. And so what happens is when you have a vitamin C and you're taking too much vitamin C, and you don't know, maybe you have a zinc to copper imbalance because you're eating too many almonds, right? There's a such thing as eating too many almonds. There's a such thing as eating too many walnuts, and it knocks those things off. Then you cause yourself to have hypercholesteremia, high cholesterol, right? So you have to understand there are ways to test this stuff out. Once you have an awareness that I need to be connected spirit, mind, and body, then you need to get the proper assessments so you can work an action plan accurately. Because if you start guessing and researching and you don't have a support system to help you, and you're coming from that child's mind where you're desperate and you're going to follow the most beautiful marketing strategy out there, and you're going to gravitate to this and you're going to gravitate to that, you're going to gravitate, and before you know it, you're even more confused and your health is not any better. Get help from someone who has been to where you want to go. That's why I recommend connecting with a professional who can do the proper assessments, because the DSM-5 is just, look it up and see how DSM-5 was originated and see if you want a diagnosis. I'm just going to go there. Secondly, there's a lot of healthy natural things out there, but those buzzwords, healthy and natural, are only designed as a marketing ploy to get you hooked and to sell something. You have to do your due diligence, and the best way to do it is to do it with a professional who's already there. Don't do this on your own, because even natural stuff can hurt you. You take too much vitamin C, you'll cause yourself to be high cholesterol. If you don't have the proper zinc to copper balance, that can cause anything from low hormones to effeminate in men and calcium, too much calcium in your system makes you rigid. Too much of other elements can make you emotionally detached. Did you know there's an imbalance that will make you emotionally detached, and people are thinking she has no emotion? We talked about narcissism. We feel that narcissists have no sense of self beyond themselves, and they can't see anybody else, and they're emotionless. What if all these narcissists have that mineral imbalance that perpetuates the behavior of them being cold? That is a thing, but I can find it in the hair analysis. One of the best parts of a hair analysis that I share with clients is I get a chance to see your emotions, but you get a chance to learn what those imbalances do to everybody around you. So if you're oversensitive and you think that everybody's attacking you, you can fix your own mental health by just saying, oh, maybe that person has a magnesium deficiency. That's why they act like that. And then you can take the ownership of it being you or your problem, and you can just leave it there. When you understand things, you don't have to be in the world, you can be of the world, and it doesn't have to affect you. But one of the biggest reasons that we are mentally unwell is because we're being affected by all of the energy from everybody else, and we don't have an energetic perspective to protect ourselves from it. So we're all in the soup feeling everybody's all energy. Everybody's not everybody, that's an absolute. Most people are unwell to varying degrees, and everybody or most people are trying to find a way to fix it, but they're only fixing it through the sound bites that they've heard in forums, and now everybody's confused. Let's back away, get some proper assessment so we can stop the confusion, and then from
Yep.
there you can take an action plan that's specific to you. Because if you guess, you're only guessing from the perspective of the wounded child that's triggered by the need to survive, and you will always be, or most of the time, be inaccurate and find yourself on a loop like, didn't I do this before? Shouldn't I be further than this? I know this. Yeah, but you don't know it in the proper perspective to move your life forward. You only know it in sound bites that has no cohesiveness and no support. And that's what I bring to the table as a doctor of naturopathic medicine and a certified magnetic mind wellness coach with my programs of unclocking your creative purpose for women. But for anybody, I am more than happy to do a hair tissue analysis for you so you can absolutely see what your health can be spiritually, mentally, and physically from something that's very consistent. It came from a sample from your body, and your body does not lie about what it needs. The lab just eloquently puts it together in a nice, neat package so you can take action. It also gives you a proper diet. So there you have it.
Mhm. And yeah, and just like you said, you got to stop taking, yes, thank you so much. You got to stop taking sound bites. And that's one thing as a coach, and I coach my contributing writers. So I'm not trying to coach anybody outside of the Own It family, just really honestly, only because, folks, you got to stop bouncing here, there, and everywhere. One thing is for sure, that has to happen in your heart and your mind. You have to make a decision. You have to make a
Mhm.
decision that you are a priority. That has to be first, because in order for you to even begin to realize that you need help, you still got to get to that quiet space. In order for you to still need help, you need to be conscious that you have to assess: do I need help or I don't? You have to know that you have to ask that question. And so, if there's a starting point that has to be basic enough one to do it. And then they have to do some level of introspective work to say, hey, something is not right. We talked about triggers. You have to develop an analytical mindset where you're analyzing, what were the conditions? What happened when I was in this particular scenario? Or what happened when I was in this other scenario? What were the triggers? What was I feeling at that moment? What was said at that moment? There has to be a level of consciousness, an awakening in the individual to say, aha moment where it's just like something needs to change, something's not right, and I need to start making some different changes. And then you can go and you need to work with a professional and give it time. These things don't happen overnight. You have to give the professional and yourself a time to build a relationship and to know one another. And so, along with the analytical tools that you use, the analysis and everything else, there has to be a building and a forging of the relationship and a building of trust. And in that of that, there has to be time. This does not happen overnight. You didn't get where you are today overnight. There is a process. And so that was so very good. I was just taking notes. Before you said triggers, I had already written it down because we know those things that trigger us to respond in a certain way. And we got to start paying attention. You got to help those who are helping you, by being conscious about what's happening with you, because that data still needs to be collected. And the only way that you can get that data is by being conscious enough that the data has to be collected, and what data needs to be and what's pertinent to your particular case, because that's where the complexity comes, because we're all individuals and we all have our own individual experiences. And so this is so good. We're going in, we're diving in deep. Audience, please, please, please make sure you're tuning in every Monday, because we're unleashed. We are fully liberated and we're unleashed. We are going to talk about the issues that need to be addressed. And we're here. We're not going anywhere. The beautiful thing about Own It is that this is a relationship. And I am going to wear my heart on my sleeve. I am going to be affectionate. I am going to be lovey dovey 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 dovey. I am not going to be talking to my people harsh unless I need to kick some tail. But I believe that love really, really blesses people, and it helps them to come back to a healthy place. That we have to demonstrate that love for other people, and we have to show them that they are valued. And I will always do that, no matter what. And so this has been great. I know that you can get in touch with each one of them. We talked about that each time we come on the show. All you have to do is Google our names. We will come up, connect with us on social media. We're all on Facebook. We are all pretty much on LinkedIn. Just Google us. You'll find us and get connected. You want to change. You want to shift in alignment with your life's assignment. You were designed a specific way, and you are not going to live a fulfilling life unless how you were fully designed. You were designed with greatness, and we want to help you to tap into and unleash your unlimited potential. We love you so very much. This is your life. Own it, and we are out.